Martin Firestone is president of Travel Secure. He's an insurance broker in travel medical coverage as well. Martin, thanks for being back with us. And let's start by talking about the passport issue. Just how serious is it now? How long are you having to wait?
Yeah, it's really bad. But when you think about it, it's not unexpected. I mean, for 2.5 to 3 years, nobody even checked their passports or cared to because they weren't traveling. Now, lo and behold, restrictions removed. I'm ready to travel. I get my passport. I see there's less than 6 months on it or it's expired. And now the problems begin. Over 1 million applicants different than the same time period last year. They don't have the infrastructure to handle it.
What's the time frame on these? I said months. Can it be months?
Oh, easily. Like, if you're going to go the mail route, you better not have any trip planned because, quite frankly, if you are depending on a passport to go on that trip, you aren't going to get it. And you know what? You have no cancellation insurance of any sort that covers you in the event of not getting a passport. So put that out of your mind. Nothing will cover you for not getting a passport, no. So you got to go the route of an appointment, lining up like you see what's going on, and then paying additional dollars for an express service. All this, you hope, has to line up perfectly in order for you to get the passport.
Yeah, and even just getting an appointment can be tricky because we were trying to get our daughters. This was back at Christmas time for us, and we were just traveling domestically, so it wasn't crucial. But nonetheless, Martin, just trying to get the appointment, it took weeks. I think there was, honestly, at that point, I think it was a 3-week delay just to get an appointment. So, incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, it's a real problem, and I understand why it's happening. And it's not even staffing as much at passport offices versus the airport issues we're having. It's sheer numbers, and it's almost impossible to catch up. It will ultimately, but the question is when, and we have summer coming up. So how soon is that going to happen? So
at the airports, Martin, then the main problem is the staff problem, and what should people be trying to do to be able to travel and not lose their sanity?
Yeah, the only hope is, honestly, if they tell you 2 hours or 3 hours on international, I mean, I hate to say it, just go earlier than even that. I mean, what's the worst that can happen is you sit around at the airport. Nothing could be worse than being frustrated in line and not making your flight. And in the old days, they used to say, who has an 8 o'clock flight? They'd move you ahead because you were running late. No. That line that's now going up and down the aisles, back and forth, there's nowhere to begin, no one to take out a line. It's hundreds and hundreds of people that potentially could miss their flights.
I was joking yesterday, that idea about, they'll get to the airport 3 hours before your flight. No one ever does that. And by no one, I mean, people I know like me. But nowadays, that's the warning, and you better do it because, as we've seen, the situation is pretty terrible and not getting better anytime fast, right? No time soon, from what I can tell.
May 1st weekend is not traditionally the busiest season, and we had this issue, so you can only imagine what summer could be like if they don't get it rectified. And you can't just press a button and 500 people all of a sudden show at the airport that day, and they're either good for security, baggage, check-in. It's just not that simple. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
So with regards, just quickly before we let you go, the government has been called in to Pearson to help out. What could the government do to help here, Martin?
Well, additional people, no doubt, at screening and check-in. Remember, one other small point, people don't want to wait for their bags 2 hours when they land anymore, so they're taking carry-on. But when you take carry-on, you now leave yourself open to people having to check your bag during those screenings and checkup lines. So it's almost like a domino effect. So you get it there or you get it here. The bottom line is they got to get there early and not feel under pressure that they're going to miss a flight. Even if they get there, just sit and be happy.
Sounds like a fun way to travel. Marty, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, for having
Firestone,
me. Take care.
You bet, over at Travel Secure. Meanwhile, as far as traveling internationally, Christine LATREMOILLE joins us from time to time. She's director of Uniglobe Travel Agency here in Montreal, in Dorval. Christine, what are you seeing with respect to people actually traveling now? Are you seeing Europe? Are you seeing southern destinations? Where are people going?
Well, we're certainly seeing a massive increase in the number of people that want to travel. Certainly over just after Christmas and March break, it was overwhelming. We were overwhelmed with requests and people just wanting to get away. That's tapered off just a little bit. The next wave is people that want to go away for the summer vacation, for construction holiday, for honeymooners, big time of year for honeymooners. And a lot of that traffic is directed more to international destinations. And to speak to what Mark just said, absolutely. The first two questions we ask every single caller is, do you have a valid passport? And how long is it good for? And of course, are you double vaccinated at the minimum? And so there are some roadblocks, and the volume of bookings is easily triple what it was even pre-COVID.
Wow.
So yes, we're seeing a big increase.
Okay, so if the bookings are triple, how are the prices? Are the prices triple too? Please say no.
Well, I wouldn't say tripled. No one would be going anywhere, but certainly we're seeing a big increase in airfares. Not so much internationally, but the fuel surcharge has had quite the impact. You've probably seen fares to Toronto are easily $600 or $700 round trip, depending on how far you book in advance. Even fares to Florida, which were typically maybe $300 one way within Florida, or sorry, $200 or even $195 one way, are now up to $3 something one way. So those fares have increased. Car rentals prices have skyrocketed. Hotels are charging much more.
Yeah.
They're understaffed as well. So really across the whole gamut of travel services, we've seen big increases in pricing.
It really is the way you're describing it. And I was reading a piece on hotel prices going up because everyone's trying to make back the money that they lost during the pandemic, obviously when people weren't traveling. But, just looking the other day, and maybe you can advise people what the best way to go here. You wanted to fly to Athens, for example. I was looking maybe going to Greece in the summer. What used to be a $700 flight is now almost a $1,400 flight. It's literally doubled. So what do you do here if you're trying to find deals? Where do you go, or are there any?
Well, the first rule of thumb is that you book well in advance. The second rule of thumb is make sure that you have a fare that has some leniency towards changes or refunds. That's really critical. But booking in advance is your single best practice. The second would be try and avoid the really peak time. So March break is a peak time.
Right.
The construction holiday is a peak time. Europe in August and September is a peak time. And so everything is skewed towards that being the maximum pricing for hotels and airfares. And you're right. Even Greece, that used to be something of a bargain, is quite a bit more expensive. So book early, go off peak times, and make sure that your rates are flexible to some extent.
Yeah, basically, 2022 seems to be peak time, from what I can see.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. Christine, I'm wondering if there's still some hesitation about travel to Europe given the situation in Ukraine.
Well, I would say yes, there is, although people who are experiencing those fears are not necessarily voicing them. We might just not hear from them at all because they don't want to go.
Right.
But I mean, just today I heard someone planning a trip to Switzerland, and they're very concerned about what's going on and about the airspace and how safe travel would be and what their experience will be like. I think for most people that are going to Western Europe, it's a concern, but it's not a deal breaker. Further east, maybe Greece, maybe Turkey, maybe Croatia, there's a bit more hesitancy just because of the proximity to the geographic area that's having so many issues.
Fair enough. And then let me just squeeze in one last question. With the prices being so high right now, do you anticipate those settling down at some point and actually being more reasonable in the future?
That's a really difficult call. We had predicted that it was going to go up because of the fuel surcharges. But as Aaron said, there is a lot of money to be recovered in all aspects of this industry, and not just this industry, of course. And so we suspect that some of this is going to just stay with us for quite a while until staffing is back up, until they can afford more staffing or find more staffing. So I would say the prices are going to be for the duration of at least the next year.
I want to ask you one last thing, Christine. It's been tough for travel agents over the past few years because so many people do everything online these days. Are you finding that's changing a little bit? I mean, I just know, looking for myself, you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I don't want to bother doing this. I don't need to check 45 different websites. It gets to a point where you simply say it's too much. I'd rather have someone else do it. Are you starting to see that or not?
That's a really good question. And yes, absolutely. The trend has been to come back to what we call full service versus self-service, merely because there's so many more obstacles to think of. And there are a lot of little sand traps along the way that you could unwittingly step into. So yes, full-time, full-service travel agencies are very much in demand now because our advice is gleaned from hard experience of what could and has happened.
Interesting how that's turning around. Christine, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Christine LATREMOILLE from Uniglobe Travel. So look, there's no way around it. I mean, it's going to cost more for a hotel. It's going to cost more for a flight. Everything is basically going to cost more, and yet people are traveling, what did she say, in bigger numbers now than even before the pandemic.
It makes sense.
Because everyone was cooped up. They don't care. Got to pay what you got to pay. I'm getting the hell out of here.